Imagine hearing a voice in your apartment, a single word spoken by no one, no speaker, no phone, no explanation. Now imagine that's just the beginning. This is a two-part story from Reddit, and it starts with a sound that shouldn't exist and ends with something much, much worse. Today's story comes from you/ace _of Hades 17 on r/RBI. Unknown Venus device somewhere in apartment. Are we being stalked/recorded? Need advice on what it could be. Long, but need help. Advice needed. Strange occurrences I need to find some sort of reasoning or explanation for. I DK if all of these instances are related/connected somehow. But these are just some things that stood out to me. Are we potentially being stalked or recorded by someone in our apartment? I'm the kind of person that loves creepy stories of stalkers, ghosts, murders, encounter, and so on. And BC of this interest, it makes me have a pretty bleak view of humanity, and always think that people are generally horrible and always up to something, which makes me always be prepared to defend myself or loved ones. Maybe BC I read all of these stories that I'm looking for it. So maybe I'm just quick to think that something sinister is going on when it may just be something harmless. I'll let you decide. Anyways, I'm a college student and I basically live in 2 apartments. I stay at my brother's apartment a lot, but I mostly stay at my own apartment that I share. I live with my friend, who is a pretty attractive girl, who is basically a pixie fairy, which as a guy I know older men love to drool over. So I always worry that since she's not as vigilant as me and really weak, that she would be an easy target for a stalker or creep, which there have been some weird suitors in the past couple of years, but nothing like stalking. So today we got a Christmas tree for the apartment, and we were just chilling in the living room when we hear a sound from a device in the kitchen, which is like 2 feet away in the next room, make a swooshing sound, and then an Alexa-type male voice recording saying the word Venus. It sounded as if a device was turning on or off or something like that. We don't own any Alexa products or anything like that. We both have the female Siri on our iPhones too. We both look at each other and say, "What the fuck made that sound?" She kinda chuckled and said, "Did it just say penis?" But I heard Venus. I go over there and see if one of our phones were over there. But there wasn't any mobile devices or speakers in the kitchen. I go back in the living room and we check our phones to see if one of us got a message on one of our phones. But neither one of us did. She asked me if I was fucking with her, but I was going to ask her the same thing. This kind of freaked her out, and with my paranoia, I immediately think, if it could be some sort of recording device or something to spy on her, because I'm not there a lot, and I was actually about to leave too. The only devices in the kitchen are a Consori air fryer, the microwave, oven, and a Vicon water fountain for the cats. I search on the internet about anything that could have made that sound, and said Venus, or even penis, which wasn't a helpful search. But nothing useful showed up. It's exam week, and I usually go study at my brother's apartment, so I had to leave, and I didn't want to freak her out with my conspiracy theories. But I did. As I was driving to my brother's, I was thinking about it and remembered that about 2 weeks ago, we were talking in her room for a second when we both hear vibrating from a phone. I said, "Someone's calling you," but she had nothing on her phone. I even look at mine, and there wasn't anything on there too, but the buzzing was still going on. There are upstairs neighbors, but they are short-term occupants, Airbnb guests. But the phone sounded like it was in our apartment, but couldn't pinpoint where. It wasn't from upstairs, Beast. We only usually hear faint footsteps, loud bangs or yelling, and such BC they are old New Orleans wood floors, but would not be able to hear a phone buzzing that clearly even it was laying bare on the wood floor above us. In my research, the only thing I could come up with that could have possibly made the Venus noise was maybe an LG Venus phone turning on. It's a burner phone that has a decent camera, but still shitty. When you turn it on, it makes a swooshing sound that may be similar to the swooshing sound recording we heard, but I don't remember it specifically. But the only thing is, I haven't found a video of the phone turning on and making the swooshing, and then saying Venus. Maybe it says it in a new update for the phone, but I don't know. That's the only thing that I could come up with, which could potentially be terrifying if there is a cell phone turning on in our apartment that we have been living in for 5 months. Neither of us own an extra phone, especially a burner. Need to know what it could be. One last weird occurrence at this apartment was when I was about to leave. I heard a weird noise come from the upstairs apartment, as if somebody dropped a bowling ball on a slanted wood floor, causing it to bounce then roll. I just brushed it off, as it was probably just some Airbnb guests making their usual stomps and bangs from upstairs. But I didn't know that there were any guests staying that day, because it was 7 p.m, and I hadn't heard any noises besides that all day. Not even footsteps. As I was driving off, for some reason on that night, I was curious if there were even any guests staying there at the moment. I decided to just drive around the perimeter of the apartment and noticed that all of the second floor's lights were completely off, as if nobody was home at all. Which was kind of weird, because what made that noise a couple minutes ago? Update 1. So it also just dawned on me that all of these occurrences only happened at night, right before I was trying to or about to leave the apartment. Every single instance involved me in some way. Telling her I'm about to head out for the night. Just another detail I just thought of. Could just be coincidental. That's where part 1 ends. No answers, just a list of things that don't add up and a gut feeling that something is very wrong. But in part 2, this person stops wondering and starts looking. And what they find is going to make you check your own windows tonight.